Maxima, Puck, and Bio. So our first game here is going to be on MLG Shattered Temple, and it's going to feature a TBZ, VV StarCad versus Sasquatch.
All right, so a Terran versus Zerg on MLG Shadow Temple. We are all sad that Ruff was not able to make it. I hear he's having some monitor issues. Hopefully, he'll be able to resolve those and get back next week. But let's focus on game one in this best of the seven King of the Hill style clan war. Starcad spawning as the red Terran player. Meanwhile, Sasquatch, I guess with that Kerrigan icon, wanting to have a little bit of pink for the Zerg and just waiting for the game to get underway.
Yeah, we are spawned here. Starcad is the red Terran, as you mentioned, on the western starting position, and all the way cross map, Convergence Gaming Sasquatch will be the pink Zerg. So already we have positions which are going to favor more of a macro game. We don't have those close by air positions, which can be such a pain when you factor in Terran drops.
Yeah, definitely Terran drops. Banshee play really hasn't made that strong of a push as of late, just because most Zerg players have been getting 2 to 3 additional queens for creep tumors, for transfusions, and just overall defense. The queen at one point was like the weakest link in the Zerg army, where players would come in, try to snipe down the queen, and then essentially it's like a production building with only 100, less than 200 hit points. So it was always easy to snipe down a queen and really slow down a Zerg, and Zerg players responded by getting many more queens. And then they also found how useful they were for spreading creep tumors, and just doing some natural defense against Hellions.
Yeah, you mentioned Hellions, probably going to be the opener we see here. Starkite is going to be walling off his ramp, as every smart Terran should do against Zerg. And sort of the latest metagame is to get that Reactor Hellion, get out somewhere between 2 and 6 Hellions, really control creep. Even if you don't do a lot of economy damage, you're at least going to be able to make sure that creep cannot be spread. And on this map, it can be difficult for Zerg to take a quick third. So if the Terran is able to get on 2 base behind that Hellion build, he can be in a great position, 2 base versus 2 base, and then he basically has a lot of different timings he can push out and attempt to put some pressure on the Zerg.
Yeah, exactly. That third base can either be placed at the 6 o'clock position, which is rather exposed, or he could try to go for some earlier roaches and destroy the destructible rocks at the gold or at this bottom right hand side of the map as well. But both are still slower than a normal Zerg would like. If there is a Reactor Hellion expansion coming underway, we can see that StarCat simply waiting for 100 minerals should be finishing off that wall in. There's the supply depot. And as you mentioned, the Hellion or the Reactor Hellion opening doesn't really deal that much damage. A lot of Zerg players have figured out how to handle it, and at this stage, I would say that both players, a Terran player with 6 Hellions holding off creep versus with 2 bases versus a Zerg on 3 bases is pretty even. If they want to go into a macro game, that's where they'll end up.
Yeah, and it looks like StarCat going to be sending a few Marines across, so perhaps going to throw down a bunker, put a little bit of light pressure, and with this, he might just be trying to force out somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 extra Zerglings. So if he's able to pick off an Overlord here, or several drones, or even do some economic damage by forcing Lings, it can be very good. He is turning around and going home. 4 Lings have started for Sasquatch. That's sort of a normal number. You at least want 2 for, to get the tower and to poke up the ramp, get some scouting going. So maybe an extra 2 Lings were made there by Sasquatch, but Stark had a nice safe push out there with his first early Marines.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to see that reactor swap come underway. Reactor should be done. Factory should lift off. And we are getting some supply depots being built on the ramp as well, trying to make sure that Zerglings cannot run up there all too quickly. And we'll see what's going to come of this. We also see that Sasquatch still only going to run off of 2 bases, as there are 4 Zerglings outside. These Zerglings are here to pretty much keep track of what's going on inside Starcad's base. He wants to see if there's an expansion or not. He will come in, see the command center already being built in this location here, so he knows that it may be safe for him to build a third hatchery somewhere on the map. You can already see a macro hatch being built, and right in between these 2 bases, perhaps to try to link these bases with creep. It is a rather large distance, and it will also cause a little bit more of a choke point if Terran tries to simply walk up that ramp.
Yeah, I like the macro hatch on this map. It definitely gives you production as if you had more than the two bases. And at this point, you've got a lot of minerals really to sink into something, whether they're queens or hatcheries. So a good investment by Sasquatch. He just has a few guys on gas, has not really tipped his hand as to what sort of tech he's going for, as we do see a number of drones taken down there by those Hellions. And again, StarCat just coming out with 4 Hellions at the moment, and he's definitely going to control creep and take advantage of any weakness in the Zerg defense.
Yeah, definitely. The Hellions now going to perhaps try to regroup together once more. That ramp is completely wide open, but StarCat doesn't want to take that chance. These Hellions, even though they are relatively cheap, they play a much larger role than their cost would suggest. They're trying to control creep tumors, as Matrons has said, as now Sasquatch now moving out with the Spine Crawler. I believe the Hellions are going to see it rooting, but not really charge in at all. And with that Spine Crawler there, Sasquatch should be able to place down one creep tumor and then start spreading out this creep slowly but surely.
You know, it'll be interesting to see what sort of tech path Sasquatch goes off of. A lot of times on this map, in this matchup, you see 2-base tech for Zerg, which can be in the form of upgrades, roaches, or mutas. It looks like we have a few roaches coming out for Sasquatch, but I'm not sure whether those are just to fend off the Hellions, or whether he wants to do some sort of pressure with roaches and lings. We do see StarCad getting a very, very early third command center, and he is taking down the rocks to take an early third. So we just see the roaches now engaging on these Hellions, able to take one down instantly there, and now pushing out, hoping to maybe get some scouting information on the front door of StarCad.
Yeah, but the Hellions have looped back around. They may perhaps try to simply run by. There is nothing really blocking. Very poor SimCity, but the Hellions do not want to go in just quite yet. They're just testing out the waters. Meanwhile, roaches look like they may be pushing in. And this front door of StarCad with supply depots and a bunker should be able to at least hold off these roaches, as we now see one Zergling simply getting torched, running back to the Zelnaga Tower.
Yeah, 4 roaches not going to be able to take on anything at the front door of StarCad, and I feel like Terran's in a decent position here. He's got his opponent on just the 2 bases. The rocks are about to go down for Sasquatch, so he can get a third, but the Terran's going to be right behind him, or maybe even ahead of him with a third of his own. So both players looking to focus on macro, but just because of the way the map is oriented, the Terran's going to have a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this is that somehow both of these players agreed to play a very heavy macro game. You can see that just now we are going to see 4 gas being established. Both of these players have had these expansions running for quite some time, and they'll have their third bases running well before, or right around the 10-minute mark, as a drone now going to make his way up and grow up to be a hatchery. Meanwhile, the orbital command can already start lifting off and trying to land if it decides to. But it looks like he's just going to be training up some SCVs and dumping them at the natural expansion.
Yeah, interesting. It looks like he doesn't want to secure that third expansion, but instead is going to try some sort of push here. The Zerglings are going to go up there and start working on the rocks, perhaps, but StarCat has a few medevacs out, and he does have stim complete. No combat shields yet. They're about to complete, about 20 more game seconds. So he's going to try some sort of drop here, and I'm not sure Sasquatch is going to be able to deal with this at the moment.
Yeah, Sasquatch, the drop is right in the fog of war. This elevator drop, absolutely beautiful, as the Marines are going to come in. The combat shield's just going to finish, and now in comes the stim. Gonna go ahead and take down the Roach Warren. The Roach Warren, a key tech building, and there it goes already. So no more roaches for a while. Zergling's now trying to engage. The Marine should be able to jump inside there in just a moment, and there's the cover fire from the Hellion. So nicely done. Baning's now gonna be added. The Marines perhaps gonna jump inside and live to fight another day. Yes, they are. Only 3 Marines lost, as more Banelings are being added.
Yeah, it took down a Roach Warren, which not that great, not a very important tech structure, since it looks like Sasquatch was going away from roaches, but it forced a few Banelings out, and he definitely made his presence felt there. He is now taking down the rocks so he can get that third up and running. We do see the third has finished for Sasquatch, and it looks like StarCat is going to continue to be aggressive here and get a pick up there right as the army for Sasquatch does come out. But Sasquatch has a ton of lings now. He made well, a lot. He's got 65, and I don't think that they can take down the front door quite yet unless, yep, here come the Banelings.
Yeah, Banelings will be added. We'll see what exactly StarCat can do. StarCat, if he's careful. Oh, wait, there's nothing inside that bunker. This is going to be really, really bad. The Marines need to stim and fight back here. Nothing's repairing that bunker there. It looks like multiple supply depots will get taken down. All of them are on fire. Where are the SCVs? They need to get to work. One bunker already down to 7 hit points. It looks like that will fall. The SCVs now need to repair the rest of the supply depots and make sure that this wall does not fall, as those Zerglings, as soon as they get past the wall, and especially with their 1/1 upgrades, would have been able to deal terrible, terrible damage inside this mineral line.
Yeah, this could have been a pretty sick timing for Sasquatch too, as there's no siege mode for StarCad. He had been investing in a lot of other things, a quick third, and the Hellions and the drops there. So he's going to be really susceptible to Lings and Banelings until this siege mode does now finally finish. But he still doesn't have a lot of tanks, and here comes a nice surround by Sasquatch, hoping to do a lot of damage to this Terran army.
Yeah, and here we go. Marines trying to engage. Banelings are detonating, but not in the prime location there, as the Zerglings are now in between the SCVs. Siege tanks now hitting friendly fire as well. I believe a lot of workers were lost in that engagement, as we are now only a 4 harvester difference. It looks like 11 workers were killed.
Yeah, not too bad. Just not a lot of Banelings there for Sasquatch. I think that he really could have taken advantage of the low siege count. If he had just more Banelings, he would have had a ton of splash on those SCVs and the Marines, but really wasting all those Lings, not much of a payoff for him.
Yeah, not much of a payoff at all. As you see, Sasquatch has lost about 1,000 resources more than his opponent. StarCad could easily just call in mules now and start strip mining this expansion location here. The Marines are now going to make their way up, and now Sasquatch, establishing the gold, may need to transition into something else. He is going into Infestors, but the Infestors are simply just going to be a complement to his standard army now of Zerglings and Banelings, especially without Roaches. He's going to be very vulnerable to siege tanks. Siege tanks dealing full damage to those Infestors, also able to detonate Banelings in one shot. Zerglings, however, are 2/2 upgraded, and unless level 2 vehicle weapons upgrade starts, siege tanks will need 2 shots to destroy those as well.
And Sasquatch has actually gone for a very fast Hive, 15-minute Hive, and he is working on his Ultralisk Cavern, so he's going to have an Infestor-based army with Lings, Banelings, and Ultras, and he's got great upgrades, already 2/2 on those ground units, the Lings, the Banelings, and the Ultras, and 3/3 is on its way, at least the level 3 Carapace is. He's got Adrenal Glands coming as well, and he does have his gold up, so he's going to be able to funnel a ton of minerals into just regular old Lings here, and they're so well upgraded, they're going to fare really well against the siege tanks and Marines.
Yeah, right there you saw StarCad unineffective with his drop on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Then he lost them to Infestors, as Roaches are now trying to siege up here. Zerglings may get there in time. What's going to happen? The fungal growth may come down. The Zerglings trying to catch up. They are not fighting on creep. Infestors need to get off some fungal growth. Perhaps some Infestor Terrans, or at least start to burrow, as they are expensive units. StarCad now down to 1 siege tank, losing an Overlord in the center, and both sides just engaging and pulling back, trying to figure out how much damage they can in fact do.
Yeah, StarCad's in a little bit of trouble here. He had a lot of siege tanks taken down there, 3 of his 4. He has reinforced with another 2, so he's got 3 siege tanks, but he's got a ways to go. Creep is pretty well spread here, and finally we have the Banelings coming in. They're getting some nice shots off, and if these Banelings make good connections with these Marines, it could spell doom for StarCad. Very low population battle here, 133 to 130, so these guys not maxing out before they decide to put the pressure on.
Yeah, so both sides, just rather small armies. You saw that reinforcements for StarCad came in just in time, but is it going to be enough now that the Ultralisk Cavern, level 3 melee upgrades, and level 3 armor is going to start? An Overlord if Sasquatch caught out of position once more, as there are still a lot of Infestors. Burrow has been completed, so the the Infestors will be able to burrow and get in that damage. Zerg is now trying to run on creep, able to do so very effectively, surrounding tank after tank, and StarCad losing a lot of tanks in this battle, and not doing all too well, as the Infestors are going to be able to get off some fungal growths.
Yeah, and there's a drop in the main of Sasquatch, so we'll see how much damage that's able to do, but it's not a full pack of 8 Marines, and Sasquatch knocking at the front door of StarCad. He's trying to set up siege tanks as they come out of that factory, doing his best to hold this off, but doesn't have a lot of units. I think it will be enough. We see the drop actually did a decent amount of damage in the main of Sasquatch, able to take down a lot of rallying Lings as they were in there, as both players sort of clean up the aggression from the other guy.
Yep, StarCad still leaving behind this medevac. The medevac could drop and deal a little bit more damage once again, as we now see Zerglings now trying to charge in. Ultralisk now kind of come in as well, and we'll see how much damage they can do, as more Ultralisks are still being hatched. Marines trying to fight back. The Zerglings able to get past those supply depots as they are lowered, and Ultralisk just chomping at the bit The additional armor just may be too much. 4 armor against those Marines. The Marines essentially not dealing any serious damage whatsoever. Marines on the high ground trying to take down this Ultralisk. It looks like one Ultralisk will go down, but this is just simply too much damage coming in here as the Marines and siege tanks are all choked up.
Yeah, he had to sacrifice a lot of his SCVs there. Now 36 SCVs killed for the game, and StarCad's going to try to clean this up, but I feel like he just has to pull back, play defensive for a few minutes because the Zerg is just rallying more and more units in the center. He really needs to use his supply depots and his SimCity to try to defend against this onslaught.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what Sasquatch is going to do. He is up on bases right now. He can just play defensively. He knows that he got a lot of worker kills, and if he just waits to get up to 200 food and then start engaging, and as long as he's exchanging for, you know, even battles, he will win this war, as this war of attrition is not going well for StarCad.
Yeah, Sasquatch not losing a lot of gas. He's been able to take down tank after tank with just these upgraded lings. So a heavy investment in upgrades early on is paying off for him. He is 3-3. StarCad is going to establish this gold. If that can be up and running, I feel like he's going to definitely get back into this, maybe taking advantage. But it looks like Sasquatch going to take advantage of that seized position, maybe do a little bit of a flank. But a lot of ultras being caught here by the units here for StarCad.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird engagement. It looks like some of the units may have been out of position as a fungal growth does go down. Zergling's now trying to hit. Infestors need to get off that fungal growth. Are they going to be able to do so? Infested Terrans now going to counter those siege tanks pretty easily, as they're going to be within that 0 distance, but some Marauders and Marines able to clean that up. But we see another macro hatch coming in from Sasquatch, and Sasquatch, interestingly enough, sitting on 2,700 gas. And a quick tech change into Mutalisk or into Broodlords could perhaps spell doom if only there was a Spire.
Yeah, I mean, he could come out with another 10 Infestors as well, bank a little energy, and then go in there with just a ton of Infested Terran and break the Terran player once and for all. But now StarCad has gotten the siege line set up. He's got a nice spread here, and he has gotten the gold well established. So his economy looking good. It is even with the Zerg, who is on 6 base at this point. But here comes that flank I was talking about earlier. Sasquatch going to take advantage of there being no wall by the third here, so he might be able to take down a lot of SCVs. Again, he's already killed 36 for the game, up to 44 now. So if he's able to do a lot of economic damage to StarCad, it could put him very far behind.
Yeah, StarCad now down to 39 Harvesters compared to 69. More Zerglings still streaming across the center of the field. Ultralisks are fully upgraded with the heart, I believe the harden up, or the upgrade anyways. So we have Medivacs now picking up the units. They need to be dropped back down. The Marines need to start shooting and dealing damage back towards those Zerglings. We see double Ghost Academies, but nothing really has come of them, as the Zerglings are just running rabid inside the base. You can see that StarCad doesn't want to give up his siege line, but if he doesn't handle these Zerglings, he's going to be in a lot of pain, as well as Infested Terrans are now absorbing a lot of damage. And now here we go, siege tanks battling it out, fungal growth, Infestors just swarming all across the map, but a lot of Marines and Marauders coming back around. The Infestors are smart enough to burrow, and it looks like Sasquatch was able to trade, and now it is a 50 food advantage for Sasquatch.
Yeah, some nice EMPs there for StarCad. Really made it so those Infestors couldn't use a lot of fungals. Instead, they just had to throw a few Infested Terran, and StarCad was able to defend just because of those EMPs, I think. If he had full energy Infestors, it would have been able to do a ton of fungals, really taking down the Bioforce, which has moved to the southern part of the map, hoping to take on the economy of Sasquatch. But these Ultras, even in this small area, doing work on the Marines and Marauders, a little bit overstimmed. They do have no medevac support, and they are cleaned up, and now it is 79 to 153 now, almost double the supply. The Zerg player in the commanding lead.
Yeah, we'll see how many more Infestors, what exactly Sasquatch wants to do. He's now almost up to 5,000 gas. That's something that a Zerg player should always keep track of and try to stay and keep balance. You can see 7 Infestors now being trained, and the longer these Infestors stay alive, the fact that he has burrow and good creep spread. Infestors, I believe, are the fastest moving caster that's on the ground, a true caster unit. And because it can burrow move, it essentially almost has an equivalent of cloak. So he could just start popping up Infested Terrans all over the place, dealing damage, and just trying to contain StarCad to these 4 bases where he can only really mine from about 3 of them anyways.
Yeah, we've got 11 Infestors about to pop, so that's going to give him a grand total of 16. So he waits half a tick on those, and he's going to have so many fungals, so many infested Terran. He's definitely going to be able to break StarCad, though. StarCad is getting up there in supply now that he's sort of established that gold, and he doesn't have Lings in his base ruining his production. He's got a steady stream of Ghosts, Marauders, and Marines coming out, sort of making a mix of everything. And he's able to get some good EMPs off there. It could really neutralize the infestors of Sasquatch, and he's got a lot invested in those infestors at the moment.
Yeah, we saw StarCad was able to get in a drop at the 6 o'clock position, clean up the hatchery there, so it is going to be forced to be rebuilt, but Sasquatch, one step ahead, burrowed a lot of those drones, and by burrowing those drones, keeping them alive and making sure that they were not going to be picked off. But it looks like StarCad, if it works once, might as well try it twice, and another drop will be coming in on the south and in the north positions, and the north position trying to take down tech, the south position trying to take down workers.
Yeah, I think at this point, though, Sasquatch just needs to sort of push all in with this big ball, take on that siege line, and wreck it once and for all. Instead, he's going to give StarCad the opportunity to macro up a little bit here, using these drops to really pull the Zerg player in many directions. The drop in the south going to do a decent amount of damage. You might actually get a hatchery, since, again, the majority of the Zerg army in the main at the moment trying to deal with that one drop, and he's having some problems at his ramp in his main. He's got a little bit of a bottleneck there. His units could not get out, and down goes a hatchery in the south portion here. StarCad 164 to 198, and he's taken down 2 hatcheries in rapid succession.
Yeah, so StarCad doing a great job right now, but he needs to figure out where he's going to expand to. He has a fair number of idle SCVs, 3 idle SCVs, Marines and Marauders once again going to get cleaned up here, and this is where I say Sasquatch really needs to transition into Mutalisk. These drops have just been playing and wreaking havoc. Infestors were able to take down the medevac over there on the top right with a couple fungal growths, chain fungal growths, but really he needs to stop allowing these drops to deal any more damage and then deal the killing blow.
I mean, I think he could take down the front door easily. If he really wanted a guaranteed kill, he could go for a Doom drop into the main of the Terran and force him to unsiege and get into an awkward position because, I mean, Sasquatch banking minerals and gas at this point, almost 6,000 gas. So looks like he's going to be investing very heavily in spine crawlers at the front or in the center of the map, sort of splitting in half. But I feel like he's not being as aggressive as he really should be in this situation.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be much more aggressive. We'll see that he is getting some spine crawlers, as you mentioned, and we'll see if he tries to train up more units and then cancels those spine crawlers. I have seen Zerg players get up into the 220, 240 food range with this spine crawler trick, and then letting them go back to mining. Harvester count now 58 to 43. It looks like Sasquatch is confident enough in his current bank to know that he can replenish his forces if needed.
Sasquatch has burrowed a Zergling in the northern position here, so he's going to force a scan here and prevent that command center from landing, but StarCad is getting this expansion up, and I feel like that's not a good move. Sasquatch really needs to keep him on limited numbers of bases. StarCad is almost mined out at the gold. He is mined out at the gold. He just has the one mining base in the northwest corner, and it looks like Sasquatch is going to go for a bit of a flank here with these Lings.
Zerglings now trying to sneak by, but they get a little bit scared by those Marines. The Marines are upgraded 3-2, so the Zerglings no longer have that upgrade advantage. We are going into a Spire finally, as Sasquatch is going to perhaps clean this up. No planetary fortress at the command center here, so the Zerglings are all going to finish off these SCVs, and StarCad, who was making a very strong comeback, may not be able to deal with the sheer number of units that Sasquatch has.
StarCad did just get off an EMP or 2 on the ball of infestors, so you see about half of them have 0 energy. So we do have a surround here coming from Sasquatch doing his best, and it is just a Zerg wrecking crew here at this point. Those upgrades and just the strength of those Lings and Banelings on that bio. Gonna win this one for Sasquatch finally. Probably something he could have done 5 to 10 minutes ago, but he wanted to stay safe, and he eventually pushed in there and took down StarCad.